I'm guessing you're here because you want a healthier and happier marriage. I'm going to give you 7 tips to do that. We are going to help you keep the spark alive and help improve your communication to make your marriage amazing.
Marriage. Marriage is what brings us together today.
Welcome back to my channel. This is Ruben Poon Coaching. I'm so glad you are here with me. This video, we are going to help improve your marriage. We're going to talk about 7 tips for a healthier and happier marriage. I am so excited to go through this. Shout out to David Ewing, who asked me to do this series. If there is something that you want me to cover, please comment below and you might see that up next. These tips are based on my 20 years of experience doing StrengthsFinder coaching and speaking. All the people that I've talked to, I found that I've naturally been able to give couples advice on this. But caveat, I am not a therapist or a counselor. So take everything that you hear today with a grain of salt. All right, tip number 1 is for you and your spouse to take an assessment like the Gallup CliftonStrengths or StrengthsFinder. A lot of you know me for this, and most of you probably have done this, but if you have not taken this, or if your spouse has not taken this, you can use this link below. You can go there, you can purchase an assessment. It takes about 20 to 30 minutes to complete. What I recommend for you to do is to get the complete 34 assessment because it has a lot more information, a lot more deeper and richness in understanding in a personalized report that it's going to give to you. You can also do just the top 5, but I do recommend the full 34 report. A lot of feedback that I get oftentimes is that people are in shock and awe at how accurately this assessment describes them. And they will say things like, this assessment described me in a way that I never could describe myself. Now imagine having that level of understanding for your spouse. You might have been together for 20, 40 years, but I guarantee you that there's going to be something new that you learn about them. You might have intuitively knew this, but this will give you a deeper and richer understanding of them. Some other assessments can be helpful too. For example, I really love the MBTI or the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. This can also provide great understanding as well. Tip number 2 is to change your thinking. Throughout this entire process, and what you're doing is to have a posture of learning, of understanding your partner. It is important to know that you are not a victim. Also, your spouse is not the problem. However, you are going to be the answer and the solution. The solution is figuring out what makes your partner tick. What are those recurring patterns of thought, feeling, or behavior that are shown through intent? A great question to ask and to talk through is, how were their actions misinterpreted by you? Once you can find out what their underlying behaviors, feelings, and patterns of thought are, this will help you understand what their motives really were. As these situations come up, ask yourself, how did you filter? How did you react to that situation? And how did your spouse, how did your partner react? You're going to find that you have very drastically different viewpoints to see the same exact situation. Tip number 3 is to have a series of date nights. The first date night, the goal is to have a basic level of understanding of your top 5 talent themes. So what you are going to do is you are going to take turns explaining and reading your top themes. So for example, I might go first and I would read my number 1 theme. Then they would read their number 1 theme. And you can ask questions. You can seek understanding of, oh, okay, this helps me understand. This is why you are the way that you are. This is why you think and respond to things this way. So a great thing to use is just print out your reports. You can use your top 5 report or ideally your full 34 report and just read it. So for the full 34 report, there are 2 pages for your top 5. So read through everything there and pause and ask questions. Stop and have a conversation about those things. Tip number 4 is for your second date night. This is to get a deeper level of understanding of your top 5. What you are going to use is a resource that I made, which is the top 5 grid report. If you are interested in getting this, comment below and tell me what your top 5 themes are, and I will contact you on how to get your own reports. When you have these, you are going to take turns again. You are going to go through your top 5, and you are going to go through each column for your talent theme. You are going to talk about things like, what do I need to give you my best? What do I love doing? What do I hate doing? I guarantee this will give you a few aha moments of, oh, wow, I didn't know you actually love that. Or, wow, I didn't realize that you hate that. I do that all the time. Then on the back side of this report, it has helps and hinders. Helps are things that you potentially do really well. These are things that might be inspiring to your spouse. These are things that they can lean on you as a partner for. Conversely, things that might hinder you are potential blind spots. These are things that might annoy your spouse. So once you can have an open dialogue about that, you can really come to understand what things help them and what hinder them. Tip number 5 is to continue your series of date nights. Date night 3 and 4 will be doing the same thing you did before, but with your 6 through 10 themes. So you will read through your 6 or 10 to get that basic level of understanding. Then you'll go through your top 10 grid report for that deeper level of understanding. Tip number 6 is to practice your new shared language. Just like learning any other language, you need to practice it. But also knowing the amazing part now is that you both share this common language. You share a way to describe who you are, and you get to describe the way that you think and react to things, the way that you filter the world. This shorthand will provide a great way to communicate with each other and understanding of each other. As you do this, when you are talking about situations, you can use language such as this. I might say, my achiever wants to get these chores done. Achiever is my number 1. And then your spouse might say something like, okay, now that I understand about you, my includer wants everyone to be included to get these chores done, not just to get it done. Tip number 7 is to debrief and prebrief events. Events are those situations or arguments that come up. I'm sure you never argue as a couple, right? But if this ever happens, to debrief what happened with an understanding of strengths. With several couples I've worked with, we have really dug into the way their talent themes interact and respond to each other. As an example, I've worked with a few couples who have this dynamic. One person has command and the other person has empathy. Now, command has presence. They like to exert presence and they like to exert presence and a dominance of who they are and inserting themselves into situations. Empathy oftentimes will reflect what the other person is feeling. So what I saw happening was that the person with command would come in and exert that presence, that dominance, and the person with empathy was merely reflecting the other person's feelings and emotions. They didn't actually feel anything, but because they were reflecting it, the person with command, fun fact, people with command, significance, or self-assurance, they usually don't like authority. So when they see the other person reflecting back and coming back to them of this presence, they need to come over the top. And this kind of bounced back and forth and spiraled into this crazy emotional fight. When I was able to point this out, how these two talent themes were interacting, they were able to see and figure out that the root cause wasn't what they were arguing about. It wasn't the topic. They might not really care how you load the dishwasher, but it was this emotional dynamic with how their talent themes were interacting. Once they were able to figure this out, they were able to set some ground rules on how to have productive conflict. So this is something important to know, is how your talent themes might interact. It might be something like your context is looking back and their futuristic is looking forwards. It might be that your activator wants to get going like a gas pedal and their deliberative wants to slow down. Now that you understand these dynamics, it will make for a better relationship and better communication. All right, so those are 7 amazing tips for a healthier and happier marriage. So this will keep the spark alive. It will help with your communication. I'm really curious to hear how these tips were helpful, how you are using these tips in your marriage and your relationship. So if you could, please comment below. Tell me how these tips are helping your relationship, how you are using them. And if you have any tips of your own as you have discovered and dove into your strengths and your talent themes with yourself and your spouse. Then also subscribe for more amazing content from me, and I will see you next time.